advantage.
And he's both Liberty and glyphosate herbicide tolerant.
Definitely the year's hottest performer. Ask your Credenz retailer about the new Credenz Liberty Link GT27 soybeans.
Grow smart with BASF. Always read and follow label directions.
At the KSMO studios here at 1340, we have Hospital Administrator Kasey Lucas with us. A little bit different day than normal, but that's okay. We got it done.
Yeah, good morning.
Good to have you, man.
Yeah, it's good to be
here.
here.
All right, so anyhow, Kasey has got his a nice tie on.
Thank you.
You look, that has an autumny feel, that tie.
Yeah.
Autumny feel.
Yeah.
Very good. So anyway, he's been busy chasing volleyball and soccer balls and everything else. Isn't that great to be a dad?
It is great. It's great. You know, you think about it and you go, I've only got 5 more years of this, or 4.5 more years
over before you know it.
And then,
Then you go into broadcasting, you do it 35 years, and you only have another 35 years to do. No, it's fun. It's fun. It's fun to watch kids, and when they're learning it, it's fun to watch. When they just sit there and it's like they're treading in mud. Sometimes you think, are you learning anything? But as long as they get something out of it, that's the important thing. Whether it's sportsmanship or a little athletic ability, you take it.
Yeah.
You should go with it. It's a lot of fun. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Board of Directors meeting from the Salem Memorial District Hospital from last Tuesday, actually a week ago today.
Yes.
And we're going to go over a couple things in here. Obviously, they can't see the pictures that we have.
No.
It's just a little bit difficult because there's some really nice pictures in here. But we are going to talk a little bit about Todd Workman and Director of Facilities. This is not an enviable job to have. I'm sure this is one that he would say is a never-ending job, number one, because things constantly change, and 2, you got to keep up to date on different things that are happening. And as we all know, state of Missouri or federal government could come by and say, we no longer do that. You have to change to this.
Yes.
That could happen. Yes. But also just maintenance of things. In case we know we have a hospital that has a few years to it, and some of those buildings need more maintenance than others.
Sure.
And at that same time, though, you want the hospital to be cohesive. You want it all to look the same. So, that's an enviable task for anybody, and Todd's done a great job for you. And he was able to show some of that to the board.
Yes. No. And I will say the board has mentioned bringing my department directors in and kind of giving an update of how things are going, and pretty much just a statement of their department. Mm-hmm. And so Todd, I started out with Todd. Todd is probably one of the newest directors that we have at the hospital, and he has taken some processes, changed some processes, but you are right. The maintenance of the facility is a huge job. Just depending on if we're allowed, sometimes we have enough dollars that we can put money back into where we need to, and sometimes we've got to stretch those dollars, and so we end up putting things off, and we've done that for a while. But I think at some point you just really have to start reinvesting into that facility, and yes, we've got some big projects that are coming up, but like you mentioned, it's the maintenance, it's the daily maintenance of equipment that really allow us to continue to use. I mean, just like Monty Kitchen prior to Todd, I mean, we've used equipment well beyond its original or, stated useful life. And that's because of maintenance and good maintenance and us keeping everything as well as we can as we go. So.
And when you bring in somebody new, and Todd has done, as you mentioned, has come in and started his own process, which you have to do. Monty did a great job, and of course, I'm sure anybody that Monty talked to probably knew him because he'd been doing it for 1,712 years. So everybody knew Monty, but they don't know Todd. And then Todd's going to maybe see something that's a little bit different. Maybe, and not to take anything away from what Monty did, but
Sure.
Sometimes you got to see things with new eyes.
Yes.
The hospital in the last few years put up hand sanitizers as you came in. You could get your hands sanitized. That's a great thing. The floors always look good. You got better equipment for doing the floors.
Sure,
And I
sure.
know when money was there,
Yeah.
but there's still different things: soaps, sanitizers, paper towels, different things that on the everyday needs
Yes.
that can save the hospital money, but also in keeping up those. I want to say appearances that make that can make any business, I shouldn't say hospital, but can make any business look shabby. Take a look out at your curbs, okay? Well, okay, if you had your curbs painted yellow, which you have to have because
Yes.
of safety issues.
Yes.
Well, if they're not yellow anymore and they're just kind of like dingy.
Pale, yes.
Dingy pale.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of call it puke color. Just
Yes.
doesn't have any color anymore.
Yes.
It doesn't look good. It looks incomplete. It doesn't look sharp. You can get that done, and that just takes a little bit of paint, a little bit of time, but also painting. Talk about painting interior walls.
Yeah.
After a while, we all know kids come through, the hands go on the wall. Parents come through, the hands go on the wall. It's pretty
Yes.
amazing how much
Yes.
dirt can get up on a wall over a period of time. And you can wipe it down all you want, Kasey. Sometimes you just gotta slap some new paint on there and brighten it up a little bit.
Sure,
You
sure, and the painting. I mean, I'm telling you, you could take one individual and say you're a painter, and all you do is paint, and you could keep them busy year round with just painting. Just depending on your troubled areas, because there are areas where you're wheeling wheelchairs in and out, and beds are coming in and out, stretchers are coming in and out of rooms, and they're just those problem areas, and you want your facility to look as put together as it needs to be, and it should be, and those scratches all over, little indents in the wall because something hits it and maybe takes a piece of it out, and things like that all need to be maintained, fixed.
Sure. And somebody can lose their balance and hit a wall and put a little dent in it too. So, I mean, these can all happen. But he had a real nice program that he laid out. Obviously, some of the grounds work that has been done. You guys have that sidewalk that goes all around your hospital now that you had to do with the lighting.
Yes.
And all that different things of that nature. So that's all got to be done. He updated the ER room a little bit. Now you've got the plastic to protect the walls in the ER.
Yes.
So that's something new and different. Halls have been painted. The light fixtures now are upgraded to LED lights, which has really brightened it up.
We've started replacing the lighting with LEDs, and
that changes that hallway a lot.
It does.
People don't. You don't think so. It does. But even as nice as that is, so as soon as you brighten up the hallway, you actually see some of the watermarks in the ceiling tile.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
exactly right.
Todd's gone in and replaced those to make the hospital look clean. Now, anytime you have that happen, that water gets on a ceiling tile, and it can happen from condensation off an air conditioning duct all the way to having it maybe in a small leak where water blows in a real weird direction.
Yes.
Who knows? That stain doesn't go away.
Nope.
You're going to have to get it. You're going to have to. You might be able to bleach it out the first time if you catch it early, but you can't keep bleaching the same spot. So a lot of neat things. Cafeteria's been repainted. The patio furniture has been repainted.
Yes.
A lot of different things. The stuff you go by every single day that, Kasey, you see every single day.
Yes.
And until it gets repainted, you don't even notice it until you see it. All of a sudden it's a different color or brighter color. And like, hey, when did they do that?
It's funny because before we even went to the LEDs, and we've got LEDs in some of the main hallways, and we just over the weekend and over yesterday, we've replaced our acute care main hall and long-term care main hall with LEDs. And the way that it brightens those halls up, it's incredible. And so those aren't everywhere, but when you walk into a hall that you're not used to seeing like that, you see everything.
And it makes it look bigger.
Yeah, it does.
It makes it look bigger.
It does.
And and it doesn't stop just on the hallways. And we're kind of talking about very visible things that you won't even notice, like inside the bay where the ambulances are. Little stuff like that. Paints, better lighting out there. removing an old water heater, doing the things they're supposed to be doing, meeting fire codes and the fire caulking. I thought one of the neat things, though, was the ambulance plug-ins.
Yes.
We would never see that. Your normal, everyday people would not see that. But how convenient is it now to have those all elevated and not have the ambulances run over them, especially in the wintertime when it gets a little bit nasty.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's things like that you don't think about.
No.
You don't think about.
You know, a new garage door and receiving. You got a new railing built. And also, all the railings and for the exterior doors have all been repainted. Had a little flooding problem in basement POB2 that's now been taken care of. So Todd's been a busy guy.
Yeah, that's that's been a I remember back probably 8 years ago. We started on the flooding, and we did a few things that would change that. I think we've just went a little bit further, sealed up a few areas where we could seal up. Because of what we do in the basement, there's no need for exit or, so, you kind of look at that and, clearing out behind that building was a huge help. And so we've done that.
The dirt used to go
we've
right
created
to the building,
it. We've maybe over years that it was eroded from all of the water and all the flooding or all the water goes through there. And so
there's a lot of water on that hill back there. So anyway, so that was taken care of. And then there are going to be some future projects, obviously the surgery top units. I know that you've talked about possibly even having to replace those at one time. They are getting a little older.
Yes.
With the rooftop, we also noticed the roof is out there. Long-term care lights you're kind of talking about already getting done. Some of these things are in the process. And then shower renovation to make them more resident-friendly and back there.
Yes.
And that's all going to be done as well.
Oh, yeah, that's very necessary.
All these things that on the surface, if you walk through the hospital, you probably wouldn't notice. Over time, these things have to be done. You do have to upgrade, and you have to kind of keep up with where current hospitals are now today as well.
Yeah, exactly. And, it is, you go back to some of the rooftop units. I mean, we've been talking about that for probably the last 12 months and saying, that's going to get done, and we need to do that. We've had an architect in engineering, come in, give us a formal drawing. About 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, we still had some details on those drawings that we were working on. So we've got those replaced just this morning. I received updated drawings. We'll go back through that and make sure. They're not with me today. But,
doggone.
So again, once we get those drawings just the way we need them, we will then send those out. We'll send them out for bid and look at exactly what new rooftop units for the surgery is going to look like dollar-wise, and what their recommendation is. So,
and of course, we know the rooftop units that we have are not the latest and the greatest. We know that they've been around for a while, but you also are been thinking about replacing that roof up there. And if you're doing that, you've got to tie all this together. Do you do it all at one time? Do you replace those units first? What's the best for the hospital to do? I mean, these decisions all have to be made and brought before the board and see how they feel about it, because you may have to shut down the emergency room for a couple of days to get these things out. Obviously, you're not going to have controlled air in there if you're removing your unit.
Right. And it just depends. Again, we've got the drawings. We're going to look at it. We're going to be checking and seeing what some of the individuals that, again, once we put it out to bid, what their suggestion is. But looking at the roof, I mean, there are definitely options there to see, do we replace that before? Structurally, the last time we had somebody look at the roof, structurally it was fine. Mm-hmm. It was just the actual
tar and gravel on the top and stuff. It's just old. It's just, thing is, as well as I do, that water sits up there and bakes.
Yes.
And it creates what they call steam pockets.
Yeah.
And you can do anything you want, and they'll say, well, how's the water getting underneath there? It's just called condensation. It just builds up underneath there. Well, as it gets a steam pocket, then that tar paper or tar actually lifts up.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, it bursts.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know when it's going to do that. It doesn't give you, a little heads up like, hey, tomorrow, I'm
Yeah.
going, baby. Doesn't
Yeah.
do that. All of a sudden, you'll just notice a leak, and that's
Yep.
where the problem comes
Yeah.
in. And it never leaks when the sun is out. It just doesn't do it.
No.
It always leaks when
No.
it's pouring down rain and stuff like that. So I don't understand that. It should give you a better idea where it leaks while the sun's out. So you can go fix it.
Oh, and when you have a drop ceiling like we do, I mean, you could have a leak over here,
And it runs.
and it runs to
Yeah.
40 feet away
Oh,
into
yeah.
a different area. So
It hits something in the ceiling, it runs, and then drips.
Yeah.
Finds a low spot.
So,
yeah,
challenge.
Water is interesting, no doubt about that. So is the month of August. It was very interesting when it came to inpatient admissions. We're
Yes.
way up there.
Way up. In the utilization of observation for the month was
Sure,
way up too, and I
sure.
think that's kind of where you look at that and say, yeah. Overall, the rest of it, whether it's med surge or swing bed, we're kind of right in line with the budget, right in line with last year. It's that observation number that we see increased, and it's that observation number that when a patient comes in the ER and whether it's cardiac or something, and you want to make sure that testing that you've done and would say, hey, we need to check in another 6 hours, we need to check in another 12 hours, we need to check in another 18, 24, whatever that
Time
regimen
period
is for
yeah,
that testing. You want to make sure you've got that patient handy. You don't feel like they're good enough that we can send them home, and so we'll put them in observation and watch that. And so we've made better use of that. But yeah, that was kind of driving that inpatient census. Swing bed days budgeted. When you look at the actual days, med surge was up. Swing bed was right in line. So length of stay would be up a little bit because
Sure.
of that, admissions and length of stay. And so, but overall, 35% occupancy, which is, where we like to see it, at least that 35%. That would be awesome.
Right.
And so we see year to date, again, just the 2 months at 34%, which is good, and we want to keep it at that.
Right,
So.
and 8.8 acute care patients
Per day, yeah.
is that's a good number. It's a
Mhm.
good number and keeping people home.
Yes.
Here,
Yes.
whenever possible. That's the key there. Very good. So a busy month on the inpatient side, busier than the normal August. Let's put it
Yes.
that way.
Yes.
Normally don't have that. Outpatient registrations right in line with the budget and pretty close to last year. Cardiopulmonary procedures, though, we're up, and we've had a lot of allergies and stuff and things here. A lot of people have really been having a hard time, and I don't know
Yes.
if it's from the hurricanes that have come over and done stuff, or actually we had one hurricane that came out of the west coast that actually came up and might have brought in some different pollen. You just
Yes.
don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Right.
a number
You're
of
right.
factors, but it just seemed like cardiopulmonary was really high for the month of August, much more above than the norm, which is about 1,200
Yes.
and 15
Yeah.
cases. You were there last August. You're not sure what your budget was, and then you come in with 1,523. That's quite an increase.
Yes, yes. And, again, census days are up. You'll see a little bit of that volume.
Sure.
Outpatient, altogether outpatient registrations were not, but you see those inpatients come in, and if they need a breathing treatment, the more days they're here, if they're getting them 3 times a day, you'll see your numbers go up. So definitely go hand in hand with that. Yeah.
And sometimes when you have allergy, and I'm not saying this is necessarily allergies, but sometimes when you have that breathing problem, a lot of it's already within your home. You don't realize the pollens are in your home, things of that nature. So and sometimes they'll keep them for observation overnight. Now, then they're great the next
Yes.
day.
Yep.
Go back home and they're coughing again.
Yeah,
And
that is true.
Then a lot of times it's a matter of just starting to eliminate things one thing at a time. So very good. Rehab has just been just crazy. It's just going nuts. So it's at 667 for the month of August. That's a lot of rehab.
Yes, yes, and well above budget. And we saw this, not so much last year. I think last year we kind of, the few years before that we were climbing, and then last year we kind of plateaued out, maybe dropped off just a little bit, and now we're right back up there. And again, I hope we continue to see that. As we look at services and what we can expand on, I mean, there's always new ways of using physical therapy to remedy something before surgery, this, that, or, you know, if there's something that, you know, you can use OT or occupational therapy or physical therapy for, I mean, they just continue to increase what they can do. Or
in lieu of some surgeries as well, because a lot of times you don't need surgery on your knee. You can actually get physical therapy and get it to what is an acceptable level to you. If it's a minor surgery, why go get it if you can use physical therapy to achieve where you need to be. And also one of the things too with rehab today anymore, Case, we want to remind everybody, you can go get your surgeries elsewhere. You know, if you have surgery in St. Louis, Springfield, Columbia, whatever, if you want that rehab done here, you can ask for that.
Yes.
That can be done right here in Salem. So you don't have to drive back to Columbia, drive to St. Louis, and go through rehab up there. You can have it done here, or if you're already in the hospital and you're okay, they want to go have you go on rehab, you can ask for that to be right here in Salem. You don't have to stay at Barnes Hospital or Cox or University Hospital. You can request that it's your choice.
Exactly right. You know, there are services that we do here that I still, on a daily basis, hear people say,
I didn't know you did that.
I didn't know you did that. And it's just, it doesn't matter how many ads we run, how many times we talk in public, we still,
until it happens to you,
until you're in that position of needing that service. And so,
but we all know, and I'll be the first to say this, and I'm not going to blame other hospitals, but when they tell you something after surgery, well, we need to put you in rehab and get this done, you know, you immediately think you have to stay there.
Right.
They don't really tell you, you know, you can get this rehab back at your hospital. Well, they're not going to take you out of their hospital. They want you to stay there and go through rehab because that's how they'll make money doing that.
Yes.
And you'll be 2 hours away from home. So all your loved ones have to drive 2 hours plus and then get up there and see you, and then they have to drive 2 hours back. When you get that same rehab done right here in Salem, cheaper and closer to home.
Yes. Yeah. And it's one of those things that if we can work with facilities ahead of time, you know, I'll throw out, you know, Missouri Baptist. We work a lot with Missouri Baptist, and if we can establish that when our patients are there, if the opportunity arises where they can come back and get swing bed or that skilled nursing, that they would make us aware that it's time for the patient, and we make those arrangements together.
Sure.
And, you know, we still have to have somebody that's aware of what's going on with the patients that we transfer out of here, and so we try to make that connection when we know we're sending a patient. We call and try to make that connection and say, hey, just to let you know we've got this patient. When they're ready to come back, let us know. We'll arrange, you know, transfer or whatever we need to bring them back and get them back here, get them back home.
Right, and it's very, very important you have your health directives, and especially if you're not going to be able to communicate that whoever you have in charge does let that other hospital know, hey, once they're ready to come home, we want them to come home.
Yeah.
You know, we want them back near us so we can take care of them. And you know, more people get healthy by having family around them than having strangers around them.
That's true.
You know, so
that's true.
You'll get healthier. You'll find your way home a little quicker. And if you have any questions about that, you can just call the hospital. But there is no requirement for you to stay in any location for rehab. And even like the home health visits we're up to, because more people want to be at home and get those treatments at home if possible. You know, obviously if it's not possible, they can't do that. But if they can, home health, and it was busy in August too.
It was. It was
very, very, very busy.
Yeah.
Also, wanted to point out too, the mammography unit was finally opened in August for sample mammography.
Yes.
I say it's sample. I don't mean this as a well, you're a guinea pig. You're not. You're getting the treatment, but they have to go through so many of them to get certified. Correct?
Yes. And really, it's funny. We look at this thing. If we look at prior to us having it, what was the arrangements here and for the community? And it was, if you wanted to have it done here, we brought up Missouri Baptist, brought that mobile van.
Mammography unit.
Yes.
That's a mouthful.
It is. And they brought the van up, and then they would, you would schedule X amount, and I don't know if everybody knew, but they had a minimum amount. So if they didn't get, at one time I think it was 14. I think today it's 17. If we don't have 17 scheduled for that day, a lot of the time they'll postpone and not come up. We had some other issues with having, whether they had trouble with the actual van itself, or they didn't have somebody to drive the van. There were some issues, or weather could be. We'd had issues of that. Now, when this opportunity came up for this donation that was being made to the hospital, we thought this is a great opportunity, because I think there's so many in Dent County that go untreated, or, again, it's a screening. You don't even have to have an order for a screening. You can come in and get a screening. And so we have so many that go, without having this screening, this very important screening, that you think about that, there's some things that we're not catching things as early as we can catch them.
I was just going to mention that. By the time they do go to get their screening, it could be stage 4.
So we're looking at a max of 17, 20 a month that we're having done. In the first, 4 weeks, we've had like 90 screenings. And it's just, it's opened up those that wanted a screening but didn't want to wait until next month to get it because, and might go somewhere else to get it, now can get it here. And so we're taking appointments. We're scheduling those. If you have any need for that, let us know. Call the hospital. Talk to Julie, and we will get you in and screened and on. But
I was pretty amazed. In August, you had 48 screenings. Because it wasn't even installed until like the 16th or 17th, and then you had to have the people in there to check it out to make sure everything was good. So it was like the 20th of the month, maybe. It was like the first. But in those 11 days or so after that, getting 48 mammographies in, that's pretty good.
Yes.
So
and
anyway,
we are really pushing right now, because we want to get all the exams we can before we sent in for that accreditation that we're looking for. And so we have sent those in. So we're just in a waiting game, waiting for that accreditation to come through. So
okay, and the grand opening is on Monday,
October 1st. Yes,
grand opening is Monday. All right, let's talk a little bit about money.
Yes.
I always like money. All right. Anyway, who doesn't, right? But money. Let's talk a little bit about money. So, first off, came out with a positive month.
Sure.
I always like positives.
Yes.
But then a lot of that was driven by the inpatient side, which doesn't always drive it, but this time it did.
Yes, and it was, again, when you look at both the ancillary side and the inpatient side, whether they're inpatients or outpatients, that ancillary revenue, that ancillary service, again, when you talk about cardiopulmonary, you talk about lab, you talk about radiology. Both cardiopulmonary and radiology were up. Lab was a little below budget, but very close. And so you look at that volume that drives a lot of that revenue that comes through the hospital. So those things were up. Again, the revenue's up, both in inpatient and outpatient. We had some other revenue,
though, was in there as well that
that
we were told about.
Yes, total other revenue. Again, donation from
the
165,000 came through. So and that's in the other revenue there.
Right.
And then you take away, 2.6 of $4.4 million because of contractuals and bad debt and everything else that
Just hurts.
that's going to happen. And so left us with about right over 2,060,000 to cover expenses of 1,962,000. So right at $100,000 gain from operations. We had $2,000, about $2,000 in tax come through. So, right at 103 puts us at 103 gain from or excess of revenues over expenses.
Right.
So
with a 3 payroll month.
with a 3 pay, yeah.
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 A 3 payroll month. And, we always talk about the ambulances and stuff like that, and they continue to be busy, and the dry runs continue to mount up. But it was a busy month anyway in August with 180 service runs that you actually
Yes.
made where you
Yes.
actually treated a patient or transported one.
Yes.
Out of 258. 258, that's pretty high. I was thinking,
It
man, I
is.
haven't remembered 258 in August.
No.
In a long time. I mean, well, we do know that the hospital responds to a number of different types of calls.
Sure.
So
Sure.
I think at first time people think ambulance, accident, or stroke or heart attack.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
they are called out for that, but they can be called out for other things. as
Sure,
well.
sure. Just depending on we've talked about it time and time again. The patients that the elderly that fall, and their family may not want to move them because they don't know if there's something broken, if there's this, there's that. We send. They pick up the phone, call 911. We're on our way. So things like that we do. You said accidents, whether it's a fire or something else, they're
Car
always
accident.
calling for assistance just for us to be, there may not be somebody that's hurt right now, but, think about a structural fire of some kind of us going, we're on site just to make sure. And do we come home with a patient? No. That's part of that dry run, hey, we got called out.
And sometimes you get called. 2 ambulances get called to an accident because they don't know how many people are in the vehicle.
Yes.
And that can be part of it too. Or if there's a 2 or 3 vehicle accident, usually they'll call for 2 ambulances to be out there. But also, we always want to thank our friends from the hospital because they do provide ambulance coverage. Even though this was the month of August, which what I want to tell you is not included in that, but obviously the rodeo.
Yes.
Ron's Race for Reeves and different things of that nature. Hospital involved in all these different things where there is a presence of hospital personnel. A lot of times that ambulance is there, and so
Yes.
and also on the special events like the health expo that was held, ambulance is there. They a number of different things that we've had. So we want to again thank them. Football games, you always see at least 1 ambulance there. Sometimes there's 2. Because if somebody gets hurt and they take one to an ambulance and they leave, another one has to be there or they can't continue the game.
Yes. Well, and that's serving our community.
Sure,
And those things.
But let people know that's all
Sure,
included in what
sure,
we're talking about
sure.
here because that's an expense to the hospital. I hope people understand you have to pay people to be there.
Yes. Yes.
They might be football fans, which is great, so they get paid and get to watch the game. But but they are there just in case.
They are there to work, and so.
And and we have seen a few kids get hurt, and we've seen the ambulance crews get over there and help out. Not only Salem kids, but the opposition kids, and so to make sure that they're okay. That's a key thing. It's a sport. Don't need anybody permanently hurt or injured drastically and not get attention when needed. But a good month overall. Like the money, always like to have a profit. It always looks good on the balance sheet, which always looks good. Except we do notice that the cash in our bank account went down a little bit from the previous year.
Yes.
However, you're putting more money back in the hospital right now too.
Yes. And we were talking about that. We've been talking really since last year about this time when we always get that cost report back, October time frame, almost a year. So we're looking at that and we're saying, okay, we understand we may owe Medicare, they may owe us, but it changes that interim rate at which we're paid every month at this constant rate.
Right.
That rate, when that rate goes up or down, that's when we one, we either make plans to take this cash and set it aside if that rate went up. If that rate went down, we have to monitor cash going out. And so we are at that point where we're really, really watching that cash. We're not at a point yet where we're still above the average critical access hospital and all that we look at. However, we still want to make sure we're still monitoring that cash coming in and out every day. So, again, concerned with that. Not overly concerned, but just, again,
Watchful.
Mindful of it,
Cautious
making sure.
and
Yes.
watchful.
Yeah.
To make sure nothing gets out of hand. And that can happen quickly.
Yes.
Expenses can mount up quickly when you start to make changes. For example, having to redo the mammography room. Well, if you start on something and all of a sudden discover, oh, wait a minute, we needed this, or we need an extra plug here. It doesn't sound like much. You got to run the electric.
Sure.
You got to go into the wall. Got to retape it. Got to redo it. Whatever. All of a sudden, what may have cost $3,000 now costs $6,000.
Yes.
Because he maybe after you got in there, and maybe it was no fault of anybody, you got in there and say, you know what, we really can't have that cord going across there. People will trip.
Yep.
We need to put electric on the other side, so there's no possibility for somebody to get hurt. That's an insurance problem.
Yes.
So instead of having that out there, obviously, the first thing is you try and plan for everything, but there's always that one or two things that'll always slip through. But getting it all done, very good. The expenses were pretty much right in line, the current with the budget and et cetera, and even close to prior year when you look at the expenses. So there's nothing outstanding there. And then the balance sheet, as I mentioned, just a little bit down on the cash side, but you're down those long-term liabilities, which we always talk about. And also, too, when you look down, the fixed asset figure dropped because some of those old fixed assets are gone now, but then others are replacing it with a higher depreciation.
Yes. And those things, I'm going to say, from my start at the hospital, we've always looked at purchases and said, hey, can we wait until our cash comes in? Mm-hmm. So we look at that, things like that. We're going to have to watch this over time, but you watch this and, December gets here and you see us, December and January gets here and you see us starting to push through some of the bigger dollar purchases. Right. Again, you see those assets go on, things like that. So it's just a timing thing with when we purchase and what we do. But, if we're holding off purchasing, you will definitely see those things eventually drop. Because again, as you depreciate every month, you see those things drop. But
the more you buy new, the higher your depreciation.
Yes. Yes.
So it works out that way. For example, and what Kasey was trying to bring out, the monthly budget was for $76,000 in depreciation at $62,000. That's only up $4,000 over last year, as far as depreciation is concerned. But remember, it's a non-cash outlay. So when these things are just the useful life of that equipment we're talking about, decreases every single day, and they allow you so much that you can do. I don't even know which way you guys do your depreciation, if it's double declining or advance or straight line.
Straight line.
I have no idea. But anyway, when you do depreciate those items, like you're saying, you hold off on those big cash tickets, and all of a sudden, okay, we got to replace those air handlers, or we got to replace that roof. Bang.
Yep.
That can skyrocket in a heartbeat.
Sure. And that's a huge cash outlay, boom, right there.
Oh yeah.
And then then you look at the expense, you look at the net fixed assets over a period of time.
How long is it going to take to pay that back? There's a lot of decisions that go in before they buy anything. Because it cannot, hinder the hospital's cash flow.
Yes.
That's very key ingredient.
Yes.
Speaking of cash flow, let's just go right there, because we did have a little decrease in cash. We mentioned that, but we talked about payroll being a 3 payroll month, and that usually means we're going to have a negative cash flow a month. Yes.
Between that and making final payment for the actual mammography machine, that is between those two expenses, those two cash outlays, as we put it before, brought us down by about $600,000 for the month. So, yeah, we will hopefully, slowly climb back up.
Oh,
But
yeah.
those are things that we see.
But we talk about that. If you got 3 payrolls in a month, you're going to have down on the cash,
Sure,
obviously.
sure.
Any other expenses that are on top of that are not monthly will stand out.
Yes.
When you do that. So when you look at that over a whole year's purpose, Kasey, that's just a blip on the screen.
It is.
That's all it is.
Yep.
Cash days on hand at 73, which is still above the Critical Access Hospitals Missouri average and the rural average. Not at 92, but
No.
you know what? You can't be at 92 every year. And when you're making changes, it will affect your cash.
Yes,
And
definitely.
That could easily go right back up next month.
Yeah.
Very easily.
Yep.
All right, aging of accounts receivable. Well, that hospital is still doing very well there.
Yes,
It actually
yes.
had turned some accounts a little bit quicker.
Yes.
Yes. Unfortunately,
yes.
there's still a few of those long-term ones that haven't gotten solved. So
Yep.
it keeps our days in accounts receivable 56. That's still fine.
Yep.
You
Yep.
don't expect it to be at 39 like we had that one time. Man, that was just
Oh, I know.
that was just a dream. Somebody, whoever did that, they need to be hired a lot. Get them to prepay you. That'd be the best
Yes.
way to do it. Anyway, the CDs, there's still not a lot of money in CDs, but they're a little bit better.
Yes.
A little bit better on the returns, but we're still got some of those older CDs at nothing.
Right. And we'll just, as we
But
get
some
there,
of them are coming up here in January, so hopefully we'll be able to draw a little bit better interest on that.
we should be able to.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit about a quality improvement program, Case, because there have been a lot of meetings on this and how you guys want to do it. Last year you had your first implementation of the quality
Yes.
improvement. Departments got their first taste of it.
Yes.
Got a chance to go over some weaknesses and find strategies to correct those weaknesses.
Yes.
Well, we've got all that out of the way, but now we want to work because a lot of those weaknesses were multi-department weaknesses.
Sure. Sure.
That get affected more than one department.
Sure. And I think really last year, that was our first year. We moved from a quality assurance program to a quality improvement program. And really it went from a numbers game of reporting, we collect more of a quality control. With a quality assurance is quality control, making sure that the right documentation, the right data elements for this patient's chart, we've collected those, and that's just one example. Making sure that I'll move away from a patient, making sure that all my housekeepers are cleaning this area, this hallway every day, and they've signed off on all the worksheets that say I've done this and I've done that.
It's sterile and this.
Yes, and all of those things that we're just making sure people are doing their job.
Mm-hmm.
And so we changed from that process to a process of saying, okay, well, why are we having an outcome of a certain kind, whether it's with a patient or with a process? Why is the outcome less than what we want it to be? And so we target that process, and we work through that process of trying to improve it. Again, we had about 40 some projects.
Right.
We completed at least 16, 17 of those. Still had 20, between 20 and 25 of those projects open. Again, those are things that from the departmental standpoint, they need to still continue to work on.
Oh, right.
But what we saw, again, we've got people looking at processes, okay? So that was the key for last year.
We already talked about with Todd.
Yes.
Different processes.
This year, we are moving to, we're looking at quality initiatives, quality measures that Medicare is looking at, okay? And so we're really targeting those areas as projects, as the areas that we need to focus those projects. And so we take those and we say, I'll give you an example. We have what is called emergency department throughput communication. Okay, so EDTC.
I was going to say,
for sure.
Hopefully you have
there you go, EDTC. And so
anagram for that.
it has to do with if we take a patient and we transfer them from the ER, all of that information, pertinent information about that stay, is being communicated. And from time to time, a patient leaves and we don't have a lab back, but we know that patient needs to go someplace. And so one of our areas, one of our measures could be or is that all of the lab results that are not finalized when the patient leaves, what's our process? How many of those that weren't available got communicated once they were final? And so making sure that all that pertinent information that we've tested at our level is making it to whatever center we're sending the patient to. And so that's one measure. And so we found, you find problems. You go, hey, well, we're not, did we ever have a process in place to make sure that these things got communicated? And the answer was no. We didn't have a process. Now, did some of that information make it back? Sure. Over 50% of that without a process ended up making it anyway. But when you look at that, you go, well, but we want that to be 100%.
Yeah, right.
What things can we put in place? What processes can we put in place that will, almost guarantee this information is going to be communicated?
And that's not an easy process to figure out.
No.
That's like a transitional analysis when you think about it, because you're going from here, patients moving from here to here, 2 different departments, maybe 3.
Yes.
And that process, which started in point A, has to get to point C. Well, you have to figure out that analysis of how is it going to get there, what steps does it have to go through. So when you're talking about that process, Kasey, that's a multi-step and multi-department process.
Yes. I mean, and that's one example. Our HCAPs, or what I'm going to say is the equivalent of our inpatient patient satisfaction surveys, okay? There is I think it's a 27-question survey that is given to our inpatients once they're discharged, and it has all types of questions regarding their care, regarding them understanding their care, whether it had to do with medications or whether it had to do with what they were expected to do when they left the hospital, or was the hospital clean? Could be, was just a number of areas that they look at.
Sure.
And so one of the things we look at was what they call the transition of care. So whether it's from the ER to the hospital, from the hospital to home, to get home health, whatever that transition of care, wherever that's going, making sure that people are kept informed and understand their responsibility for their own health in those areas. And so that transition of care for us in the hospital, that's going to be one of our major goals this next year, is to look at that transition of care, because there could be a couple of things. When a patient leaves, we always make sure they understand medications and they understand to follow up with a family physician or this or that or whatever those things are. We talk about it, but if that survey process, takes place 2 weeks after they've been discharged, how many people are going to remember what we did and did not talk about 2 weeks ago?
Right. Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's
okay.
Right. So for us, we saw that as the number one thing that we have to change. Well, maybe that has to happen 2 to 3 days after they're discharged, or what has to happen is 2 to 3 days after they're discharged, we have to call them and follow up and make sure that, one, they've filled their medications, they've arranged, if we haven't already arranged by the time they leave for a follow-up visit, that they've arranged that visit, and all of those things. So things that again, I don't want to. We haven't had any meetings about this, but I know just in the talk that we've had so far, these are things that we feel strongly about, and hey, we have to do these things because again, it provides the best outcomes for our patients. And so, again, I think that when we look at this quality improvement program, that's what we're looking for is those better outcomes for our patients. And so, through some of these quality measures that are put into place by Medicare, and you know, I think that it far exceeds or goes past CMS, and you know, it even gets into if we were accredited by an accrediting body like JCO, that it just one of those things that it's a higher standard for our employees. It's a higher standard that we hold ourselves to, so that again the outcomes are better.
Well, it's a higher standard for your patients.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you expect? And that's a, you know, when you sometimes people might say, well, that just makes sense. That's easier said than done. Anybody that's ever been in a hospital and you get released, the only thing you really want to do is go home.
Right.
You know, are you really paying attention? You're sitting there nodding, but do you really know what the doctor's saying? You know, that's why it's always good to have somebody else with you, you know, who can absorb it. But a follow-up call 2 days later, just to make sure, just wanted to make sure you understand, have you done this and done this? And if they say no, then, hey, or I forgot about that, which that could easily happen. You know, I remember saying something, but I haven't done that yet. You know, the hospital then can give them that assistance, and it really makes a lot of sense in doing that because it's still somewhat fresh in their mind, but they may not have acted on it yet. So,
Yes.
you know, because we all know that if we get older, Kasey, you start to forget a lot of
Yes.
little different things. Even though you might write it down, you forget where you wrote the note.
Yeah.
Gosh, I hate to tell people my secrets, but that's it's honest. But it's really a neat idea. I think that's a great focal point, and I know patient safety is another focal point that's
Yes.
going to be looked
Yes.
at in quality improvement. So, good idea. Debbie Hines went through that. It was probably about a 10-minute discussion on that with the board, and it sounds like it's going to be a really nice program moving forward. Look forward to seeing what the results are of that
Yes.
in a year.
Yes.
You know, to see how far it's come. Very good. All right, Hospital Auxiliary, you guys did meet in September, and you got another meeting coming up here next week on this day. My gosh, on Tuesday.
Yes, Tuesday. Yeah, no, we met, talked about some fundraisers, talked about assisting with our mammography and the Peek Out project that we've got going on. Shoe Roads production that's going to be in the hospital library October 23rd. So,
Shoes. All
Shoes.
kinds of shoes.
yes, yes.
And you don't have to be a hospital employee to go.
No.
Anybody's welcome to go
Yeah.
to the Shoe Roads production.
Yep, the first time I went, I was thinking, okay, they're going to be work shoes and they're going to be this and that. There was everything, all types of shoes that you could imagine there.
Yeah.
So,
So check that out.
Yep.
And that is at the hospital library, and that will be October 23rd. I don't know when it starts. Is that 8?
you know, I don't have that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's usually 8 to
8.
4 or something
Yeah.
like that. So anyway, we'll find out about that. And if you would like to attend the next auxiliary meeting, it'll be at noon next Tuesday, and you get lunch.
Yes.
Son, steak and lobster this time?
That is nope.
No.
No steak and lobster, and I do not know the menu yet. So
Do
not
could be
know.
steak and lobster. Probably won't be though, right?
probably not.
All right. Anyway, but if you'd like to be an auxiliarian, you can call the hospital 729-6626, and you can just ask for administration. They can give you details, or just show up at the meeting. You don't just feel free to come on by and just find out what it's about. Maybe it's find something that you would really be interested in. All right, the Hospital Foundation's got a lot of stuff going on. First off, I know we're still working on the entity structure. Government takes a
Yes.
while to get
Yes.
stuff back. We're waiting on
Yes.
paperwork and get those bylaws ratified. But little stuff, just waiting. It's the
Yes,
waiting game.
it's the
on
waiting.
those, yeah.
Right.
And of course, we got our Dancing with the Stars coming up January 26th. Couldn't find men. Now you got men. You can't find women.
Can't find women.
Come on, girls.
Yep, we need at least three women. So if you are interested at all, want to show off your dancing skills,
Or learn some.
Or learn some. That is definitely
you got
something.
plenty of time. You get together now, and you'll have a couple of months to practice.
Yes.
Don't wait till the last minute.
No.
But,
No.
but if you'd like to do it, call a hospital, can ask for administration, and tell them you'd like to be a dancer at Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
It'll be January 26th. That's a Saturday night at the gym, because the City Hall Auditorium's roof they've been working in there, so didn't know if it'd be available or not.
Right.
So it's going to be at the Salem High School gym. Oh, very good. So check that out. It's going to be a fun time anyway. All right, the Grant Oversight Committee met on August 29th. You've got some upcoming grants. There's also discussion of the Missouri Foundation for Health grant. That's kind of a collaborative effort.
Yes.
And did that ever come through yet? Or I know it was talked about it. I know they're talking about it.
We're expecting I think the final say sometime in November.
Oh, okay.
But I think we did have a meeting with Missouri Foundation for Health. I think the individual that will take this project in front of their board met with Healthy Dent County and ourselves, and really had some just wanted to make sure all the details, she understood exactly how we see the project helping the community, and wanted to pull all those loose ends together before she went in front. But I will say that she thought and was very impressed, liked the project very well, and so had high hopes for it, and so that makes us feel excited and get ready to, if we can move forward, we'd love to move forward. Again, this would put in place a social worker type of person in our ER, one in our clinic, and one stationed at Healthy Dent County. And again, to try and help identify those patients that, one, may not have primary care, use the ER in a way that would mean they don't have primary care. We want to get them established with primary care, and then eventually, if there are other needs, other programs that could help them, get them involved with the individual down at Healthy Dent County.
Right. There's
the
so many
community.
programs
Yes.
people just aren't aware of.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
might be able to help
Yeah.
out. So very good.
And kind of a single source for all of those programs, all of that help that is possible. And what we hear is that because you have to go to these 8 agencies to get everything you can, or all the help you can, there is discouraging.
Right.
People just lose the
To deal with a lot
yeah.
of governmental bureaucracy just every time you turn around.
Yeah.
It can knock you down. And after a while, you just sit there and it's not like you can't get to help, but sometimes you don't know what questions to ask. Sometimes you really don't know what agency it is that you're supposed to talk to. Sometimes it's just not always cut and dry, Kasey.
Right.
And it'd be nice to have somebody just say, this is who you need to talk to. Let them contact them and then send you on your way, and then they'll know you're coming. And they can really help you out.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so that sounds like it's a really neat program. We'll find out more about that as time goes on.
Yes.
But that really sounds like it's an interesting program. And what you do want to say that I know our hospital has been involved in so many different things in our community, and now you're going to be involved a little bit more with the golf club. You guys actually got a share donated, and with that share, now you can actually have a member on the board and help out with the golf club and do different things there, and help out not only that, but also employees of the hospital, different things, and possibly do some things for them as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Very
no,
good.
it was very nice. Again, a donation for a share, and again would give us the ability to serve on the board if called. So, that would be a good thing. So,
Very good. Stay involved in the community. And,
that's exactly right.
one of the things I don't think people really realize, Kasey, how important a golf course is to your community. We know how important a hospital is to our community, but a lot of people say, well, no big deal. You lose your golf course. But that kind of is a gathering place for a lot of people.
Sure.
You'll be surprised how property values would change if it's gone.
Right.
So don't be fooled, but somebody says, well, it's not that big a deal. You don't want to lose one of your assets.
No.
And a small town doesn't have enough assets to lose.
That is true. That is so
Very
true.
good. All right, now if we had an ice rink, I'd be in hog heaven. Don't break my chair.
Maya might have.
Hopefully not. There's little things on the side you can tighten that up with, or loosen.
All right.
Don't want you to fall, because that guy's to call the hospital. that could make headlines.
Yes.
Hospital administrator goes to ER.
We'll straighten
falling
this
out
out.
of a chair.
We'll make it through.
All right. When we go to community perception and marketing, Chris Strickland, the COO, has done a tremendous job with that. This is a big bite that he wants to make some changes, and when you do that, it's a big bite.
Yes.
It just takes a lot of different things.
Yes.
We got some radio ads being done. We're going to be doing some new ads. We're going to be putting together. Matter of fact, we're going to be meeting on Wednesday to do that. We've got some videos we're going to be getting out hopefully very soon. Try and get all that done. The new SMDH sign's been ordered. They're doing internal marketing, which means marketing with inside the hospital, and the social media and website. They're continuing to try and improve that presence all the time. All as part of Chris's job, but and in all honesty, this does take a lot of time. It
does.
You can't just brush this off and say, "Oh, give me 3 minutes." 3 minutes doesn't do it. That's why we're gonna be meeting for a couple hours on Wednesday, kind of go over some of that, and that should be a good meeting. So he's done a great job. Continues to get out in the community. You turn around, you're gonna see this red-haired guy with a beard out there all over the place. He's been at the football games. He's been at the Health Expo. He's been at luncheons. He's been part of Project Rise. He was down there, and that's another neat program that hospital's been involved with. That matter of fact starts Monday.
Yes.
Project Rise.
Yes.
Health screenings. We had another pretty good turnout there over at the community center at the Army. Going to be at Rose Holland Trout Derby on the 6th. My goodness gracious, it just keeps going and going and going. Got the mammography pink out. That's going to be in a football game coming up. And they're tentatively have scheduled 25 free mammograms.
Yes. Yes.
Now, if you don't think you can afford a mammogram, we have some donations as well. But if you don't know about it, schedule that mammogram. You can get one to be one of the 25 to get a free one. Just get in touch with the hospital. Now, you have to be 40 years of age or older and uninsured. Okay, that's the only caveat to that.
Yep.
And then just call the hospital and tell them you'd like to sign up for one of those 25 free mammograms. And that's a great program. That's tentatively been scheduled for October 19th. That could change, but I don't know if it will. But anyway, a lot of different things.
Yes.
A lot of different things. We already talked about the mammography unit. 10 o'clock Monday morning, grand opening.
Yes.
It's going to be a good program.
Light refreshments. Yeah.
Yeah. The refreshments are going to be in the cafeteria, I believe.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Didn't have quite all that clear, but anyway. Well, we do have a new mammography unit, and because we have a mammography unit, we're going to have to get some additional privileges when we got to the Chief of Staff report. But we also had some other teleradiologists that needed privileges as well.
Yes. Yep. We met September 17th, which is Monday before the board meeting. Went over our the summary of operations, chief nursing report, the QI, talked about QI a little bit, pharmacy and therapeutics report. And then we had a visitor, Dr. Mary Bruns, came over and was talking about the goals of peer review and some of the limited limited peer review audit for us, and that's just looking at documentation that our physicians from a few patients here and there, and looking at that documentation, making sure everything was in line, and she has some suggestions for us, and she will be meeting individually with them, and so that's one very positive thing that came out of the meeting. Like you said, new courtesy staff privileges for teleradiologists, and so there were some that were new teleradiologists, and then some were requests for mammography privileges. So,
which is different than just
sure.
radiology.
You have radiologists that read certain exams and certain things, and for us, for the most part, they all read what we need, which is ultrasound, X-ray, CTs, MRIs. All of those things are taking place. It's this addition of mammography for us that was in question, and said, oh,
Right.
but as a matter of fact, when we changed, because just in July we've changed companies to from the new company is USA Radiology. The old company was Emergence, and so and it's just a different group of teleradiologists. And so we made that change, and some of those applied for mammography right from the beginning, but some did not apply for mammography, and we had to go back and just approve those privileges individually.
It's
So-
an ongoing thing. They
Sure,
just have to get
sure.
approval, and that's all recommended by the board to the board from the chief of staff's report, and all those privileges, by the way, that were asked for were approved.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, very good, and it's a good thing. We got another service at our hospital.
Yes.
Get more
Yeah.
on,
Yes.
get more on board so they can give that feedback quicker.
Yes.
You know, otherwise, you don't have to waste some money. Well, the annual bylaw review wasn't much.
Nope.
No changes.
No changes.
That makes it easy.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So anyway, that was easy. And then you guys have a strategic planning meeting scheduled for October 19th
Yes.
through the 21st.
October 19th through the 21st. Really, the meat of the meeting will be the 20th. Again, it's just our chance, our opportunity to sit together, look at long-range goals, short-term goals of the hospital and what we really want to do, services, expanding services, making services better, making sure really just highlighting the direction of the hospital for the next few years. So I think that's but again, it includes our board of directors, the administrative team, and the medical staff, and they're all included in that. So it is kind of a unique time where we get to all sit and look and talk, and you have to take a serious look at what we're doing today, and if we want to make changes, this is our opportunity to really create that plan, or at least note it as a part of a plan.
Yeah, possibility somewhere down the road.
So
and you have to, and it's good to get that vision from everybody.
yes,
If, let's just say, for example, if it was just the board of directors, well, they see one thing, and they meet, they see one thing, they hear one thing, and I'm not saying there's not a different set of
Sure.
circumstances, but they're not hands-on. They don't get that. They get to, obviously they get to make decisions, but they're not hands-on.
right.
The daily operations are foreign to them because that's not what they do. Now, you were kind enough, and George Grindell even made a point to thank you for giving a full tour of the hospital, things that he never knew or never even saw.
Yes.
Which I think was great. I think all the board members should take that tour
Yes.
because our hospital, I know people say it's a small hospital. Walk it. It's not a small hospital. I mean, it's got arms and legs, and it
Yes.
sprawls out there, and there's different areas that I'm sure you've never been to. I know that there's doors in the hospital. I have no idea where they go.
yeah.
Couldn't tell you what's behind them. But
Yes.
that's not the key. The key is that when the board of directors understand a little bit more what you're talking about when you talk about it, I think that makes them to be a better director. And I think hopefully all of our directors eventually get a chance to take this tour.
Yes.
Because, well, you said it was a 2-hour plus
Oh yeah.
tour?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, when you start to think about that, there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of verbiage going back and forth, and a much better understanding of the hospital and the operations and what goes on daily, which the board member doesn't see on a continual basis. But they're still not going to be a part of the medical staff because that part is a little bit above and beyond virtually. If I was a board member, I wouldn't understand it.
Right.
That's not what I trained for. That's not what I went to school for. But the medical staff people, then they know of different things going on that, hey, we need to look at this. This medicine's going in this direction. What can we do? And that opens up that pathway for everybody, the administrative staff and
Yeah.
the board to see it. So it's a great opportunity to have voices heard that might not be heard in that kind of setting otherwise. You just never know. We never know what we're going to come up with. And some great ideas get spawned out of those
Yes.
meetings. They really
Yes.
do.
Yes.
Where all of a sudden, I was thinking about that. I just didn't know how to present it.
Yeah.
Somebody else comes
Yeah.
up with that idea. Very
Yeah.
good. So look forward to see what comes out of that meeting. It's always good. I know you always got a meeting.
I know.
Yeah, always. Got one at 10.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, so we don't have much more to do. We got
No.
new business. Actually, some new board meeting dates were discussed. Have they ever been finalized?
Nope. Nope. We've got we got to make sure we have a quorum.
Right,
And
absolutely.
That's
That's why.
for the 6th.
It's been a week now, though.
Well, and the 23rd, we just have to today, October, when we look at October 23rd, that's the auditors come in and
Right.
report. Again, we just have to make sure we have the right amount of.
I know you're going to miss one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I've got two.
Two.
So I have to have everybody else.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so we're looking at that. Again, I think it may.
Have a proxy board member. See if Mark Weaver like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's my
Yeah.
proxy. I gave my proxy. I don't think that'll fly.
No, it won't fly.
It's a heck of an idea, though.
Yes.
Yeah, bring that up at your strategic planning meeting. Have proxy board members. Some hospitals actually do have alternative board members.
I don't know how that.
Yeah, they're not a full board member. They don't have voting privileges, but in case they
Yeah.
don't have a quorum,
Yes.
they can sit in and they can actually, but they can't vote on anything, but they can sit in to make
Yes.
a quorum. I heard about that and I said I'm not sure how that works either, but I heard alternative board members.
I'm going to
so I
have
don't
to
know how
look at
works.
that.
Anyway, November board meeting will be moved, obviously, because of Thanksgiving. I just don't have a final date on that. And then December board meeting will also be moved, and that will looks like December 11th right now, and it'll be a noon meeting.
Yes.
Because later that day, you guys will have your combined medical
Yeah,
staff
we've
and
done that.
meeting.
We've done that the last couple of years,
Yeah.
and it works
It
out
worked
well.
better. You used to
Works out
have it
well.
all kind of real quick board meeting, and then
Yes.
have the staff come in, and that got to be a little rushed. I would have to feel.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, so very good. And a noon meeting works out great because you get that out of the way and you're not limited to, whether people coming in for dinner, we got to hurry up and get done.
Yes, yes.
You know.
People are waiting.
Yeah,
we
people
don't
are
have that.
waiting. And there were no purchases, so anyway, that made it easy. Very good.
Yeah.
See, you're done. No problem. Anything in closed session?
There was.
You was?
We talked about.
Giving the media a raise?
Nope, that was definitely not in the.
I keep
That's on the
asking.
agenda for. No.
Yeah, it's not on the agenda ever.
But we did talk about the hospital is challenged consistency for some of the medical staff. There's in this time of employed physicians, again, physicians were not always employed by hospitals. They were sometimes came to the community, was aided by the hospital in creating a practice.
Right.
And so that, again, with time, has kind of changed. And so that doesn't happen very often. We would be open for that, but it doesn't happen very often. And so some of that, along with CMS requirements to do certain things, again, we talked about quality initiatives, quality measures. We have to start creating those consistencies, because those requirements, as we start reviewing those, and it might create, there's a process and everybody needs to do this process, and we need somebody to head up from the medical staff, somebody to head up that that process of identifying those. Again, I think it's somebody, a point person on the medical staff to lead us through a process of getting those things more consistent from provider to provider. And so they just approved us actually creating that position and creating what today it's simply medical director.
Oh,
So,
You're creating a medical director's position.
yes.
Well, dang on it. Now you're going to have to go back to your bylaws and add that to your chart
Yes,
of
that is true.
organization.
In the medical staff bylaw? No.
Yeah.
No, in the,
No, in the
in the
organizational
organizational
chart.
bylaws, yeah.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of a lot of hospitals have medical directors.
Yes.
It's
yes.
not out of line. So
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely somebody that would be the overseer of that. Very
Sure.
good.
Administrative, it gives a little bit of administrative responsibility to the medical staff, and in the sense that this individual has to work very well. I mean, has to bridge the gap between all providers and then administration and the board, and say, hey, this is how we're going to accomplish these requirements that we are now seeing. And
very
so what I see is that this person will meet with medical staff and again, pull together ideas, concerns, sift through all of that, come up with the best alternative in how we're going to accomplish these things.
I think that's the best way to do it too, because and I'm not saying anything bad about administrative staff, because I won't. I know better. But for somebody from administrative to go to medical staff and say, you're going to do it this way,
Yes.
you don't know if that really works or doesn't work,
Right.
but you've been ordered by CMS that has to be done, so you just kind of pass the
Yeah,
buck down, and then, okay, guys, we need to do it this, and you figure it out. So now you'd have a medical director that would actually figure it out and then put a plan in order using the medical staff as feedback.
Yeah. Yeah.
Much better.
Yes.
Much better.
Yes.
Very good. I agree with it. Okay, you got my vote.
All right. Thank you.
All right, very good. All right, Case, you got 9 minutes to get back to the hospital, get to your next meeting, so appreciate you coming in and spending time with us. That's Kasey Lucas from the Salem Hospital. If you have any questions or you'd like to dance with the stars or whatever you want to do,
Yeah.
if you want to be an auxiliary, remember you can call the hospital, find out more information, or about even signing up for that free mammogram. Please call 729-6626. Just ask the operator when you get them on the line. They'll guide you to the right person, and you can get that taken care of. Whether you want to swing your hips or you need to just get out there and find out more about being an auxiliary, hospital always more than happy to help you out. Or they'll send you to Julie and get that mammogram scheduled.
Yes.
Very good. All
Sounds
right,
good.
guys.
Thank you, Stan.
Thank you very much, sir. That's Kasey Lucas, our hospital administrator for the Salem Memorial District Hospital, right here on KSMO Radio.